Have you ever thought about the ways in which you can lose your business without you even realizing that, okay, this has happened? It just suddenly happens. There's so many ways in which you can lose your business. We are talking about that this today, morning, afternoon, depending on where you are at. And we have an awesome guest, Adele Baker. She is a lawyer. She has quite a bit of experience and is here to share with us, with you, the various ways in which you can lose your business that you might not think about and that you need to be aware of and proactive about, not, allowing this to happen to you. When you think about it, you have put so much time and sweat and money in your business. So when it's taken from you, especially when you didn't see it coming, it can be very devastating, impacting not only you, but your team, just like a snowball impact. So thank you so much, Adele, for tuning in today, for joining us. We are honored to have you. We do appreciate you. And we are just excited to hear all you have to share with us. As you're listening in, please remember to share this broadcast. It's very important. We are a community. We want to ensure others are aware of this information. Do state where you are coming in from as well, joining in from. And if you have any questions, comments, feel free to pop them in the chat as well. So thank you, Adele. And yeah, let's dive in.
Yes, thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited to talk to you guys about this because a lot of people don't think about when they're going into the business. Well, the back end of it. Well, what happens if I lose? Like, what happens if this happens, or what happens if that
Mhm.
happens? Because it's not really common. But you watch in movies and you see like board takeovers, and you've been
Yeah.
voted out, or like there's some unique situations where you can lose your business that you've worked so hard for. And a lot of people as business owners, we don't go into starting a business thinking about stuff like that, and we should. We should. We
Exactly.
should. We should be proactive on the front end so that we're prepared, and it ultimately will make us more successful.
Great, for
Um,
sure. I do know that depending on the type of business structure that you have, the ways in which you will lose your business are different. So I want you to quickly elaborate on that a little bit. Like, what are some ways you can lose your business as a corporation, an LLC, versus being a sole proprietor or even a not for profit, too?
mhm. So I'll group them in two categories because
Yeah.
the sole proprietorship is different. It's just you're starting. Some states don't even require that you file paperwork with the state when you're a sole proprietor. That's as opposed to an LLC or a corporation. You're actually incorporated, and you have legal documentation that you have to provide to the state in order for your business to be quote unquote legal.
Mhm.
With a sole proprietorship, it's much easier to lose your business because there's not that paper trail. You don't have operating agreements. You don't have the same structure and foundation that you would in an incorporated business. Let's say you have a sole proprietorship and you're just going about your business. You're like I have a boutique. Okay, it's a sole proprietorship.
Mhm.
I don't have an operating agreement for that business. When I first started it, it was just me just saying, "Hey, this is my hobby. I'm going to do this," and I put a
Yeah.
lot of time and energy into it. But what happens if someone down the line comes and says, "Oh, I'm going to copy exactly what she's doing," or "Hey, I'm going to use that name and I'm going to say this is my business"? What then, right?
Yeah.
Because in Alabama, you don't have to file as sole proprietor with the state of Alabama, and that's where I am. So someone could come along and take that from me. But there are in that instance, easy ways that you can fix that. You could trademark your name. I've trademarked with the state. You can trademark federally. There's some protections that you can put in place for a sole proprietorship to protect yourself because you never know how someone is going to view you as competition and want to, get their claws into your business. But that's an easy way to protect if you're a sole proprietorship. For LLCs and corporations, I want to say it's even easier. Okay. Um, I tell all of my friends, I tell all my business clients, it all comes down to paperwork. Okay. It's essentially just contracts. You have to protect yourself. When you have an operating agreement, everything that you can think of imaginable. So this is why you get a great business attorney when you're starting a business, because we think about all the ins and outs of it. You want to have everything in your operating agreement. It will say how everything should go. It can
Mm-hmm.
get down to the most minute detail. How shares are given out to other people, the contributions into the business, how meetings should go, how ownership should go. All of that can be included within an operating agreement or partnership agreement if you're in a partnership. Um, any issue that I can think of in my mind, I can point it back to, well, what's in your operating agreement?
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting you mentioned the agreements because I know that a lot of times CEOs, business owners, they when they're setting up certain structures, operating agreements, certain other legal documents, I'm not going to say nobody, most persons are not reading through the entire document. They are relying on the lawyer to say, okay, this will be the expertise that is used, and I'm just relying on the judgment of the lawyer as well. So I do know that, and we lost Adele there for just a few more minutes again. So, and a lot of times as CEOs, business owners, when certain documents are coming across your desk to be signed off, it's a case where you are not reading through the entire document. We are actually relying on the lawyer, your attorney, to say, okay, they've vetted it, they know the ins and outs, I'm just going to sign. And what happens sometimes with that, and I'll allow Adele to elaborate on that some more, is you miss what's called the fine print. So this sets you up for takeover from other shareholders. You talk about certain aggressive takeovers. There's a lot of, litigation happening and battling in court over ownership. And this is one of the reasons, because when your company was set up, you're not aware of those details which, position you to actually lose your company. And again, this depends on, again, the structure of your company. Another thing which Adele said earlier was the importance of having those right operating agreements, those, you know, clarity documents to say, okay, this is how we are going to operate. This is what is trademarked as well. This is what will be happening. So, because of that, it sets that precedence, it sets the tone for protecting your business against, persons coming in for various reasons to overtake your business. So, you do want to ensure that you have those documentation, and those documentation, I do suggest that you have those documents reviewed by your attorney, by your lawyer, to ensure that it's positioned in the way that you are protected. Sometimes just a simple wording or omission of a comma, or a word in the wrong place or a different place change the whole meaning of that agreement. So it is important to have those expert eyes looking at your operating agreement. It is so important that you connect with an attorney, a lawyer, when you are in this phase, the setting up your company, setting up your business, because you want to ensure that you are thinking ahead. And again, as we said earlier, sometimes when you think about, okay, my business, you're setting up your business, you're operating, you don't think about, okay, I could lose my business in this way, right? By a takeover, by breaches with how you are operating, right? A lot of times, persons, you're not thinking ahead. You're just, you know, in the group thinking, okay, this is how you are going to be operating. So, hey, Adele, you're back.
Hi.
Yes. So a lot of times you're setting up your business and you're not thinking about ways in which you are going to be positioned to lose your business. So again, as Adele said earlier, having those agreements, those operating agreements set up properly and also reviewed by experts, attorney lawyers saves a whole lot of time, a lot of heartache, a lot of money.
Yes.
So thanks for coming back on, Adele. Technical difficulties, we have those. We're never escaping those. So I was just kind of recapping what you had been, communicating with us about the importance of setting up those agreements and so forth. So, yes, I now want you to elaborate more on the, certain scenarios. So, we do hear, and you mentioned that some persons will say, I'm not a corporation, so I'm not. It can't happen to me as a sole proprietor. But you did mention that in the old realm of operating as a sole proprietor, it can happen. You can lose your business. So I just want you to elaborate a little bit more on a few examples of that operating as a sole proprietor, and then we can move it over to the corporate side.
Okay. So as a sole proprietor, I'm going to just use a personal experience as examples.
Yeah.
Okay. What I've done and what I've had people in my circle do or have done. So a lot, we're in a day and age where we have a lot of virtual, we have a lot of online. Okay. You go and you post a product picture and you say, hey, I'm selling this for XYZ. And someone is following you and they see that and they say, oh, that's really awesome. So they capture your image
Mm-hmm.
and then they go to something that they are creating, some shop or online something or the other, and they post your image and claim that it's theirs. How do you
Mm-hmm.
change that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how can you protect? You can't say, "Oh, that's mine," and it's a he said, she said type situation in that instance,
Yeah.
or hey, I'm using this name, but someone else is also using this name. Who? How do we know who owns this particular brand or this particular name of a company?
Exactly.
And that will boil down to protecting your brand, whether it's a sole proprietorship, an LLC, an S corp, anything. Protecting your brand. You can go forth with copyright. You can copyright your intellectual property. You can trademark your brand name. You can trademark your tagline, your logo. You can do that federally. You can do that with the state. And I suggest doing both. If
Okay.
you qualify for both, I always suggest doing both. When you're listing images or you're listing your work product, put a watermark on it. Put your logo smack, like you can smack down across the center of something, put a watermarked logo. So if someone does capture that, they can't take that image off. So others know it's yours. It's something that you've created. It's your intellectual property. It's your domain. So it it sounds complicated to some people, but it's not.
Oh, we seem to be having another round of technical difficulties. I'm not sure. Adele froze again. Yeah, Adele seems to have frozen again. So she was talking about the importance of, as a sole proprietor, protecting your assets. So it could be, how is your website protected? Your assets, certain photos and stuff, are they trademark your name? Because it might seem simple, but if someone decides to really actively pursue taking over your operating style, taking over your, copying what you are doing, and then they insist, and they say this is it. And because you have probably have developed that relationship and built your clients, then there's confusion, and you don't want to have that. So you want to ensure that you are protecting your business, your name, how you're operating, your various trademarks are in place to protect your business, to protect your company, and also how you're operating. It can be very heartbreaking that you have invested time, money, and the quality of your work, the quality of what you offer to your clients, and then for some reason it is just torn down. So I really want to encourage you to think about what's happening. You might not be sure, you might not see the red flags, and that is why it's always important to go back to relying on having an expert set of eyes, an attorney, a lawyer, looking at your business operations, looking at your documents, looking at how things are really operating so that they can identify the red flags, the risk, and mitigate them quickly. So if you do have any questions, if you have any comments, feel free to put them in the chat. You can also reach out to Adele and she'll be happy to talk further with you. She's on LinkedIn. She's also on Facebook. You can search her by her name, and you can be able to connect more. So do remember, when you think about the impact your business has, not only on your life, but on clients, customers, the team that you might be employing, contractors, the world at large. You want to ensure that you are really taking those steps to protect your business. I always say to clients that, and those I serve, the world will never be the same if your business dies. So that is why it is so important to really set up and protect your business accordingly. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you do have any questions, again, feel free to reach out. Do remember to share this broadcast. And, if you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out. Also, don't forget that, in terms of the business structure, sole proprietor and also the corporation, it is important to protect your business accordingly. I just see Adele popping back in. Hey, Adele,
Hi,
technical
I've joined on
difficulties
my
again.
cell phone because my computer is just not getting it today.
Yeah, it's one of these things with technology. So you were talking about now the impact with the sole proprietor. So I wanted to just quickly elaborate on, from the corporate side. You have set up a corporation, LLC for those in the States. How does that, what are those risks? What are some red flags that you need to look out for that you're protected? Because I do know when there are hostile shareholder takeover, a lot
Hmm.
of times it's probably something with how the corporation was set up, the wording that you did not pay attention to. And a lot of times, persons, you're just not reading all the fine print. You're just saying, I set up a corporation, I'm trusting my lawyer. How do we work through that and mitigate that risk?
Yes. So 100% when you're dealing with an attorney, we know what we're supposed to know about businesses. Okay.
Yeah.
However, um, it's up to our clients as entrepreneurs and business owners to be diligent and to check. You want to make sure what we're giving you or presenting to you is accurate and exactly what you're wanting to do with your business.
Mm-hmm.
Because every business is going to be unique. Everybody's going to have different needs and different things that need to go into their business. And as attorneys, we won't know that unless you let us know. So within an operating agreement, some important things to look at when you are forming an LLC corporation or anything along those lines, how meetings are going to be held. Do we need to have a specific amount of people present for such meetings? Do we need specific people to be present for such meetings? How are votes going to be held? Do we need to have a certain percentage of members to vote in the affirmative or negative? Do we
Mm-hmm.
need to have a certain person or a certain group of persons to be involved in the voting process? We need to look at how shares are distributed. How can someone gain shares in your company? Okay, how can someone become a member of your LLC or your corporation? It's not every Sam, Joe, and Bill off the street's going to come in and say, "Hey, I want to be a part of this. What? Let me sign me up." Um, you're going to look at all of those things to see, to make sure we have exactly what needs to happen happening down the long and in the long run. Because if you don't address those things, um, it may come back to bite you in the end. Unfortunately, um, well, like I said, we see a lot of this in movies, and you don't think that it's something that's going to happen to you. You don't
Exactly.
think that your baby that you've created is going to have the same type of end result that you see in these big, entertaining Hollywood movies, but it can happen. Hostile takeovers are a thing. People coming in and undermining you or trying to take away what you have created, it is a thing. And we just have to be diligent and um, going in on the front end, we have to be diligent and we have to plan. Everything when it comes to business is about planning. And it's very cliche to say, but if you don't plan, that is a plan. It's a plan to fail. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want that to happen. We want our businesses to be successful. We want to make sure that everything is the way that it should be, especially when it comes down to LLCs and corporations. Money's going to play a big part in how your business is run, and that's something that you need to address in the operating agreement as well. Capital coming into the business is going to be important. How
Mm-hmm.
funds are distributed, that's going to be important. There are many aspects to an operating agreement, and that's why it's really important to get with a business attorney that can walk you through and explain what each aspect of it means, in terms that you can understand. Because
Mm-hmm.
we never want it to be or get to the point where you're on the outside looking in on something that you created.
Exactly. And just as we wind down, a lot of times persons have the misconception that this is just for bigger corporations. But you have seen it happen to small business owners too, right? I just
Yeah.
wanted to confirm that, to put it out there, that it does happen to small business owners as well.
Yes. And it's essentially important for small business owners, in my opinion. I like to work specifically with small businesses. I felt I saw that need in our community, and I have focused my practice areas on supporting small businesses and supporting families, because that's how our communities are being built right now. It's not just big corporations, like you said. It can be it can be a simple two-person LLC to run
Mm-hmm.
into this. And if you don't have those guidelines, if you don't have that foundation up front, it can hurt you down the line.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for elaborating on that, because I do know, when you have these myths going around, persons, oh, it will just happen to bigger corporations, not to me. And that just sets you up for failure again. So you do want to ensure you are having those reviews, being clear of these things coming from the attorney side, definitely being aware of the risk as well. So, Adele, can you share where persons can reach out to you? I know you can put it in the chat after you've completed, but what are the best ways for persons to reach out to you, and also, just share how you can support them as well, your services? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. So I am local to Alabama. I am in actually Montgomery, Alabama, but we service clients all over the United States when it comes to protecting your brand and protecting your intellectual property. I work with an amazing attorney. She is the brand attorney, Laconia Murray, with Off the Mark IP Solutions. You can find us online. There's a website, offthemarkipsolutions.com. You can email me at Adele, it's ADELE, at offthemarkipsolutions.com. If you have any questions, we can definitely sit down and have a chat and see how we can best service you. We assist with business formation, getting those operating agreements and partnership agreements that you need. I also assist with business succession planning. I say it's so important for entrepreneurs to have something up front to say, what happens if I'm incapacitated, or what happens if something happens to me? What's going to happen to my business, something that I've worked so hard for? So we help you in
Hmm.
protecting that too. We do trademarks, copyright, anything that is surrounding your business, and you have questions about that or you need assistance with that, please feel free to reach out to me. Myself or Attorney Murray, we will be very glad to assist you and point you in the right direction.
Okay, thank you. And what's the best way for persons to reach out to you?
Via the website, we have a communication form to set up a meeting on the website.
Okay.
And they can also shoot me an email, and we can go from there. Email is the best
Okay.
form of communication for me personally.
Okay, great. Thanks. So, and you're on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. So, if you have any questions, if you are unsure where you stand, or you're not even sure how do I protect my business, or you have other issues,
Mm-hmm.
and you need those legal eyes, do connect with Adele. She'll put her information in the comments as well. So, Adele, thank you so much. It's quite an honor that you came on today to share. And as usual, everyone, if you have any questions, comments, feel free to put them in the chat. Reach out to Adele. And also, do remember to share this broadcast. So, we will be signing off now in 3, 2, 1. Bye, guys.